Oh yeah, she's that country girl who overcame the stigma that Southern women are barefoot, backwoods, and backwards. Now she's an articulate voice for conservative values and wisdom in America. Sitting on her front porch, sharing common sense, here's Marnie.
Hi, welcome back to my front porch where we talk about common sense principles in America. I'd like to talk to you about human dynamics today. A dynamic that I see happening not only in families, between husbands and wives, between parents and children, but also in our society at large. And that is what some people would call a form of manipulation. I was watching the other day an old episode of Andy Griffith's show, where Opie has a friend. His friend is from a rich family. His father is very well-to-do, and the little boy is tutoring Opie, Andy Griffith's son, on how to pitch a temper tantrum, how to get his way, how he doesn't need to, work for an allowance. He can just kind of cry and whine and get what he wants. And he's trying to teach Opie how to do this. So Opie decides to try it out with his dad. He goes into the sheriff's office and he asks to just get 25 cents a week for his allowance without having to work for it. He doesn't think he should have to. And so Andy's like, well, if you don't work for it, you don't get the allowance. And so Opie tries out these new skills that his friend has taught him, how to wallow on the floor and pitch a temper tantrum, or, scream or hold his breath or whatever. Andy's not moved by any of this, holding your breath. Oh, it's a good thing, good lung exercise. If you're going to pitch fit on the floor, don't get your clothes dirty, and he just gives it no emotion, no response. You'll have to watch the episode. I'll give you a link to it on the Front Porch Sense. But anyway, the bottom line is Andy is not moved by this emotional outburst, but the father of the other boy is. It's like, oh, my son is sensitive. We have to make special arrangements for him. We have to do, because until he finds out in the end, it's really just a manipulative ploy. And I believe that a lot of times people in our society use forms of manipulation to get what they want. And what does this have to do with freedom? I think it has everything to do with freedom, because freedom is hinging on personal responsibility. And those who pitch a fit or temper tantrum or use emotional blackmail or these drastic measures to try to get out of doing something, to get someone else to give them something, or to, get their way, they're trying to manipulate the outcomes. But what I want to talk about today is how that shows up. That might look like just an emotional blackmail of some kind. They'll get mad, and then you want to try to keep the peace with them. Or they'll be making excuses for why they're doing what they're doing. Or they'll guilt trip you. They'll turn it around and make you the villain. And you see this a lot in our society. Those with rules and want to adhere to basic rule of law are made to be the bad guys because there's all this emotion brought in and used against them. It looks like guilt tripping. It looks like emotional outbursts. It looks like twisting it around so that you're the villain and you're to blame. Those are just some of the more common ones. But what I want to discuss today is our response to that. Because I don't think we're like Andy and the Andy Griffith Show for the most part. We're not just sitting there, well, don't get your clothes dirty, or, oh, holding your breath is a good exercise, or what. No, we let them manipulate us. And that's what I want to explore today. Why do we let them manipulate us? And I think it's for a couple reasons. Number one, we are good people and we want everybody to be happy, right? We care what other people think. We care about their emotions. We don't really want to offend anyone. And bottom line, they can use that against you, okay? That heart that you have to help, that empathetic feeling that you have for their plight, they can manipulate that. And I'm not saying to be heartless, but I'm saying that when you're very clear on what is right and wrong and have some clear boundaries, you cannot be manipulated. This is something I'm learning to do, and I've learned to do throughout my life better than I used to, because I used to be very manipulated by if somebody's going to get upset, they're going to pout, they're going to pitch a fit, they're going to do whatever. I'm walking on eggshells to make sure that doesn't happen, because I just want to keep the peace and keep everybody happy, and let's just try to make it all where nobody gets upset. And when you live your life like that, it's miserable and you don't have freedom, because you've enslaved yourself to the other person's emotions and their outbursts and their whims. You're a slave to that. You've given your own power over to it. And it's easy to say, well, they're a narcissist, or they're a psychopath, or they're a you label them in some way, but in reality, you're the one who has given over your freedom to this person. You don't have to. Now, if it's a dangerous situation and your life is in danger, get out of it. Get out of that situation. But if it's just them being emotional and you don't know how to deal with that, a lot of it could be you, that you just don't know how to deal with it. You assume all of their emotional outbursts are about you, when really they're just emotional outbursts. It's up to us to own our own personal responsibility in these equations. If you find yourself in these situations with a child or a spouse or a parent or in the society at large, if you see that you're being manipulated by emotions or guilt tripping or all these other things, stop and say, wait a minute. This is your stuff. This is not my stuff. This is the other person's stuff. And look at it logically. Pull back a little bit. Step out of that emotional entanglement and look at it clearly and say, oh, that's just them making an excuse. Oh, that's just them getting mad because it didn't work out their way. It's not about you, and it's not your job to fix their emotional outbursts. It's not your job to walk around on eggshells just in case someone might be offended. Sure, be a good person, be nice. You don't have to abase yourself and constantly walk on eggshells or reduce your own freedom or give up your own personal responsibility to live your own life just because it might upset someone else or rock their boat or the way they view the world. Freedom is stepping in to your own personal responsibility, living your life on your own terms and according to the dictates of your own conscience. And sometimes that means standing up to someone else, and sometimes other people are going to get upset. Other people aren't going to like it. It's going to challenge the way they see the world or the picture they have of you and how you're supposed to be or the dynamic they're supposed to have with you. All of that's going to get challenged sometimes when you step up and you step into your own personal responsibility and your own freedom. That's just a price we pay. Sometimes people fall out of our lives in the process. And that's okay. That's okay. That's their stuff. That's my thought for today. Think about it. Ask yourself, if you're in one of these dynamics where you feel like you're being manipulated or somebody else is one of these labels of narcissist or whatever, say, why am I letting them get to me? That's the real question. Take responsibility for your response. Don't just react. Respond. What is a better way to respond? Or if at all. Maybe they just need to be ignored and move on. Y'all take care. God bless.